The fact that none of us discover ourselves in isolation. Science of how our brains are wired to love and be loved. It started in World War II. Sometimes you get clients, like I'll get women clients, but what if the guy's a player? What if he cheats on me? Well, there is that risk out there, but what if you could get the coaching so that you could spot that ahead of time? A certain amount of risk comes with life. That's all there is. We're going to sit in the captain's chair. Risk is a part of the game.
Yeah, for sure.
You need more business coaching, but believe in your value. If you are called to do a certain work, then, I've always loved the one statement.
And that's next on Bootstrapping Your Dreams show. So, the big question is this. How are ambitious people like us, who don't have a lot of resources, did not go to Ivy League colleges, were not born into wealth, how do we become resourceful enough? Use our creativity, our dedication, and a little bit of crazy to bootstrap our way to realizing our dreams. Whether it is launching a new company, launching a new app, or making it to the top of the corporate ladder. That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. If you like this video, do not forget to hit that like button now. Or if you want us to improve our content, go ahead and hit the thumbs down button and give us your feedback in the comment section below. Here at Tetranoodle, we are passionate about entrepreneurship, technology, and innovation. Every week, we bring you insightful and engaging interviews, tips, tricks, and strategies to help you grow your business or rise in your corporate profession. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing. And do not forget to hit that bell icon so that you are notified when we publish new content. Hello and welcome to this new episode of Bootstrapping Your Dreams show. I'm your host Manuj Aggarwal, and today we will be talking with Dr. Gary Salyer. Dr. Salyer is a creator of Safe to Love Again and Extraordinary Couples Retreats, along with his various other programs. He's a former graduate professor and he's author of the book Safe to Love Again, How to Release the Pain of Past Relationships and Attract Your Soulmate. Dr. Salyer speaks across the United States as a nationally recognized expert in the field of transformational relationship coaching and attachment theory, the science of relationships. He offers his clients a unique blend of neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, neuroscience, and attachment theory. As one client said, he resets your system for love in a science-based, heart-delivered manner. He introduced himself as a master transformational relationship coach, speaker, author, and retreat leader. So welcome, Dr. Salyer. We are so excited to have you on our show today.
Thank you, Manuj, and I'm happy to be here with you and your audience.
Awesome. So just so that we get to know you, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your life journey, and how did you come to know so much about relationships and love?
Well, it didn't start out, it really started out, for me, my journey started at 7 and noticing all the divorce and how nobody felt loved. I decided that I was never going to get loved. I was never going to be divorced like the rest. So when I went to college, I had 2 majors that were set, psychology and religion, saying, I'm going to make sure I don't ever get divorced. Mm-hmm. And my senior year, the professor calls me in, we do a personality test, he gives me the results, and he says, and oh, by the way, you have a 90% chance of having a divorce. Wow. So just for you don't slip on that T over there. Right?
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter was, it freaked me out so much that I stayed a 5th year of college and got a 3rd degree in marriage and family relations. Wow. So imagine my surprise when 12 years later, after doing all of that, my wife says, I want a divorce. So, I double down. I do 7.5 years of therapy, do more reading and workshops, pronounce myself good to go. And then my 2nd marriage falls apart.
Wow.
It was after that I did a few more years of therapy, and then I began to notice that my core style of picking and relating never changed. I was managing pain versus transforming what's called a love style. And that was when I said, nobody should work this hard for this view of results. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, if it's the last thing I do, I'll crack the code. If they can't do it, I'll do it for them. And I devoted the rest of my life to finding out what truly rewrites the rules of love. So you're not managing pain, but you're actually creating the love
Nice,
you
nice.
deserve.
All right, so that's awesome. Now, can you tell us a little bit about how this process works and what kind of transformation you can expect?
Okay, so the way this thing works is between 0 and 3, everybody gets these 6 templates for love. I call them rights, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And this between 0 and 3, these rights are also, which is important for your entrepreneurial crowd, they will get swapped out from love to other areas of life, business. So they affect everything. So
Yeah.
there's a right to exist and to feel cozy in your body and to feel connected to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You get a right to have your needs met,
I
which
see.
means it's okay to reach out for your needs and to take.
Mm-hmm.
There's a right to separate and belong, which means I get to be a me,
Mm-hmm.
but I also get to be in a we. I get to be supported. I get to have proper support and someone looking over me. And
Oh,
then there's a right to create your own experience where no, somebody else is not the standard. You're the standard and you're comfortable with good and bad, strong and weak. There's a right to have a voice. It's a right to assert, as I call it, so that you can speak up for what you want. And it's okay to have your wins in life and a right to love and be loved.
yeah.
Those 6 rights are what tell us that we can depend and be dependent upon in loving. That's the ones that if we have all 6, we pick good partners, we create, and we continue with great relationships. If any of them are missing, then we will only have the rights for certain rights and not others, and we will pick somebody who doesn't give us those rights. We will create a relationship that does not give us our rights back. For instance, if you don't have a right to have your needs met, you'll find a taker.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll resent it in your relationship. So those are the things, and what's really interesting, Manuj, is all of them relate to the entrepreneurial. Would you like to hear that? What that means?
Oh, for sure, yeah, for sure.
Okay. What I began to notice was that these rights didn't stay in a tidy little corner called love. That, and this is an interesting statistic. In 12 years, every woman entrepreneur who showed up got a better business. There have been 0 exceptions. They worked on love and they got a better business. Because if you think about it, a person who isn't connected themselves can't emotionally connect to others. I talk about that in my book, Safe to Love Again.
Mm-hmm.
If these people with a missing right to exist, they didn't get that fully, they didn't feel welcomed with joy, they can't welcome others with joy. They will be terrible at client care.
Yeah.
If they don't have a right to have their needs met, they don't feel worthy. And worthy people don't charge their value. They're always giving out freebies, or they're giving reduced rates and they wonder why they can't grow a business.
Yeah.
If they don't have a right to separate and belong, these are the people that will not reach out for VA support when they get bigger, or they won't seek coaching. They'll try to do it all by themselves and wonder why they get hassled, and then they say screw it, or they stay small.
Yeah.
If they don't have a right to create their experience,
Yeah.
then branding is all about creating an experience for somebody else. Well, if you can't create an experience for yourself, how can you create one for somebody else? These people are terrible at marketing and branding. If you don't have a right to assert, good luck trying to get on stage. These people have a hard time speaking their message. And then if they don't have a right to love and be loved, that be loved comes in as the right to have a raving fan club. They simply won't be able to accept praise. They're the ones that can give a great speech, maybe, but as soon as they get a standing ovation, they walk off stage, or they just won't be able to handle a raving fan club. They can't scale.
Yeah.
So
true.
So what looks like love is also business, is also success. It works out in health too, some other ways. So everything we're talking about, every last one of these women got a better business. The one woman didn't have a right to have her needs met. She goes, wait a minute, I give all these freebies out. and
Yeah.
she started charging her value. The women, I had 4 women had 7-figure businesses, and they all had the missing right to separate and belong, which meant their boyfriends would flake on them.
I see.
All of them came in about the 5th or 6th. I says, wait a minute, my staff, they all had staffs because you can't make $1 million a year without it.
Yeah.
They flake in the middle of launches. They're not there when I need them. Is there any correlation between that? Because it feels just like my boyfriend. Bingo, Yahtzee.
Yeah.
And so when they got better boyfriends,
Mm-hmm.
they all swapped out their staff. And then they had better businesses. So there's, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously everything is so connected. And, before we started the interview, we were talking about how people spin their wheels and they ignore this personal part of their life and, not realizing these things are so interconnected. And, it's very fascinating that you start with, realizing your own feelings, your own self, and understanding what you are made of. Is that right? Like, so does this process start with your own self-discovery?
I think it starts with own self-discovery, but the fact that none of us discover ourselves in isolation,
Sure.
yeah, that's kind of a misnomer. I mean, how many people have told us all, how many people have supported us both in this great thing that we call business, right? Podcasts. Somebody said, well, I bet you'd look good on a podcast. You go, I bet I would too, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all need that. Yes, some of it is self-discovery, but it's more and more just going back and doing the deep work. What I argue in the book is your brain uses 4 feelings
Mm-hmm.
to know when it's loved. Those feelings are welcomed with joy, worthy and nourished, cherished and protected, and empowered with choice. Those feelings create these rights. But the problem is, and these, if you're given all 4, you use them as reference feelings. Oh, do I feel worthy? Oh, this is a good relationship. Oh, do I feel empowered? Oh, good. The bug in the system is if you were given unwelcomed or unworthy or uncherished or disempowered, your brain will also use those as reference feelings. And you'll pick people who make you feel unworthy. You'll pick people who make you feel disempowered. And the trick to the deep work is to go find out when the little one, or maybe in a past relationship, your brain got those feelings, and to swap them out for the secure feelings. You've got to feel these feelings, and then your brain goes about doing business very different. Worthy people pick other worthy people. Worthy people charge their value. Mm-hmm. Empowered people don't find dominators. They find people who share influence. Empowered people know how to take the next step in a business. Disempowered people are always afraid it's all going to go wrong or something. So it's always the feeling is running it. And the deep work that you asked me about is having someone skilled to be able to know how to get the brain safe with welcomed or worthy or cherished and empowered. And it has to be safe, because at one point it wasn't safe. So if you can do that, miracles can happen.
Awesome. That's great. So yeah, I mean, all the internal positive energy that comes from within you by being loved and by having all these feelings, coming to you from your loved ones, that can go out there and multiply your business and give you the success you're looking for. Is that right?
Absolutely. I have some friends who are pretty good business coaches, right? Mm-hmm. And, as you well know, attendance has been decreasing for some years with live events.
Yeah.
Online. So that's their model, live events. And they began to think, why are we getting less and less people? Signups are high, but attendance is lower and lower and lower. Mm-hmm. And people were throwing this idea and that idea. And I said, so if people aren't showing up, then they're not feeling safe in this relationship. I said, let's look at this through attachment. And I said, what are you doing to make these people feel welcomed and worthy? We'll leave cherished and empowered for the event. But what are you doing in between sign up, through a Facebook ad, and 2 months later?
Yeah.
I go, bingo. They lost the initial feeling. So all they did was implement a couple of strategies to make them feel more welcomed. And they gave everybody, I think it was a 20-minute coaching thing on any problem that they had in their business, free with some of their staff, so that before they came, now their people feel worthy, welcomed and worthy, and their attendance shot up by more than double. Nice. Just paying attention to what makes people feel loved. It was better. And their offer went from around 46% to 80% that event.
Nice. Wow.
So, awesome. The brain, if it feels loved, always buys a bit more.
Yeah, nice. All right. So you use this word attachment. So can you tell us a little bit about the theory of attachment?
Sure. Attachment theory it's really the science of how our brains are wired to love and be loved. It started in World War II. After the bombings in London, there were a lot of orphan children, as you can imagine. Mm-hmm. And John Bowlby was a British psychiatrist who worked in these bomb shelters, these orphanages. And some of them, even though they were fed and clothed and warmed and had proper, quote unquote, supervision, they were still dying. And nobody could figure out, why are they dying? They've got food, water, clothing, everything you supposedly need except for one thing, love. And Bowlby was bold enough to say they're dying for lack of love. Now, he couldn't use love because the Freudians would have run him out of town in the 40s. So he said attachment, so it would sound scientific. But his wife, after his death, said he always meant love by attachment. So he recognized that children were dying because love is at least as important as the rest. And after that, we began doing more and more science on what tells the brain to pick a good partner or not a good partner, to create a loving relationship or not. And they found there were 3 types of love styles, attachment styles. Secure people who love and give love and feel comfortable being loved and loving. Anxious people who are afraid love's always going to go away. When did you text? Why didn't you say you love me? And they tend to drive love away. And then there's the ones that say, well, love was never here for me. And they become dismissive. They're the ones that won't show up. They're dismissive emotionally and they won't commit. Those 3 types. And we found they track, and the key to my work is finding out why that person's brain went anxious or avoidant and giving them back a secure love style.
Nice. Very cool. All right. So now let's talk about your book, Safe to Love Again. You have a chapter dedicated to exploring the idea of love as an operating system. Mm-hmm. So how does that work?
Do you remember what I said earlier about how the love swaps out, the brain swaps out?
Yeah.
In that chapter, I talk about Daniel, right? Mm-hmm. And Daniel was always saying that, that love, there's this big thing about, when do he was always getting left behind, so to speak, right? Mm-hmm. And he didn't feel like he was getting, and the word he used for me was cut off. He was big in IT. And he was talking about, I'm always cut off. I'm cut off in the traffic. I'm cut off from promotions at work. I'm cut off from, other opportunities. And then he said, I'm even being cut off from sex in my relationship. Uh-huh. Early on, and he came in working because his relationship was lackluster. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And what we found out was when he was little, there was a line at school that said, there were 10 gifts and he was number 10 in line to get it. And a teacher said, we have to let somebody in here. And he was the one that got cut off. And that became like a template. He set his life up. So when we worked on him not having to be cut off, right? Yeah. The next thing that he could reach out and ask for his needs instead of being cut off. He could assert his truth. No, this is my place in line. I deserve this. First off, he found out his wife actually wanted to make love more. She just thought he wasn't interested, right? And secondly, I said, have you ever asked for a raise at work? And he goes, well, no, they just cut me off. He asked the guy, said, the guy agreed to it, right?
Yeah.
So this is that whole template. Now, I did learn it from school, but it affected his love and relationships, and it also affected, in this instance, his professional life. The feeling of cut off, I don't have a right to have my needs met, I don't have a right to assert, was all over his life.
I see.
That's why I say love is the operating system.
That's cool. That's very cool. Very deep. All right. So now let's talk about your entrepreneurial journey. So, you were a professor and you turned into an entrepreneur. When did that happen? And was there any turning point in your life which prompted you to take this leap?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think there's two sides to this, to be honest with you. One of my really good friends from that time, she's been a really good friend for 28 years, who read my recent book. It's written very warm and lovingly and very simple. She gets it. She goes, where's intellectual Gary? She goes, Gary, I don't read Mr. Intellectual. What happened to the intellectual? And I said, well, intellectual Gary got smart and wrote a book that would sell. And he wrote it for everybody. Laugh. But there was a point where I got tired of showing up as Mr. Wrong or choosing Ms. Wrong in my relationships. And what's really interesting is I was doing some training with a young man who had some real wonderful entrepreneurial skills. His father had been a CEO, and I was always giving this kid my notes, PhD quality notes on NLP. And one day he says, I'm doing this event. And I think, that's interesting. I think this kid's going to need help. I'm always explaining things to him, right? And I show up and I see 250 people at this event.
Nice.
Oh, this kid's definitely needing help. He was about 28 at the time, right? And then I notice quite a few of my notes up there on the PowerPoint. And then I noticed that he made an offer, and I just started counting numbers. I said, he's made like $150,000, $200,000 this weekend.
Nice.
And that was when I said, wow, that's more than I make in a year.
Yeah.
And I was at the place where I wanted to play a bigger game. I had a graduate student write me an email and say, Dear Dr. Salyer, why is a brilliant man like you teaching only to 10 to 12 students at a time? If you ever want to play a bigger game, give me a call. She was head of marketing at Charles Schwab. And between those two things, I realized that I wanted to do love and relationships, and I could play a bigger game of love and success. And I wanted to have impact and influence. And writing another book with 993 footnotes was not going to be it. So between all those little things happening in about 18 months, some part of my soul said, let's go play a bigger game. Cool. And it's been a learning curve. I've had to learn what a businessman is. It's different than being a smart boy, which is what I paid for before. And I've learned that it's more important to inspire than just to inform. That inspiration tops information any day of the week. I've learned to be more heart-centered, and I love what I do. I absolutely love what I do.
That's great. That's an awesome story. And you said that you had to learn how to be a businessman. Now, what were some of those learnings, and did you have to unlearn anything that you had picked up in your past past career?
Oh yeah. The first 5 years was kind of a struggle, right? Because I grew up in a home where I had a borderline mother. You didn't want to take who was violent with knives, right? And you didn't want to take a lot of risk in that family. So I became very risk avoidant. And I had a really good friend who told me, hey, called me up one night. She's an organizational psychologist. And she goes, I want to talk to you about your business. I said, I'm really tired tonight. It's Friday night. And she goes, hey, I'm $500 an hour. I'm giving this to you for free. Okay. And she goes, you're never going to build your business past where it is. I said, and she goes, because you won't take a risk. She goes, either you don't believe in yourself or you don't believe in what you're doing. So which is it? And she goes, you won't take a risk. She goes, if you're going to build a business, you have to take a risk. And it really landed with me. And that was when I took my first risk with a high-end business coach. And it was worth everything. I mean, suddenly he's calling me out and I'm learning what I need to do. I had that missing right to separate and belong. I had way more right to separate and do it all by myself than to belong. And you can do that as a scholar and an intellectual, but not as an entrepreneur. Connection matters more than anything to an entrepreneur. And so for me, I think the big thing was learning that I had to have support and I needed to take some decent risk. And with proper support and better connections, connection matters more than anything. Be able to take in coaching. I think that was the first really big change for me as an entrepreneur. Reaching out for support and learning to take a decent risk.
Yeah. That's so true. I mean, without risk, you can't even, as they say, like there are no pains, no gains. So if you don't take any risk, you can, it's going to be very tough to get any kind of success in entrepreneurship. So did you, oh yeah, go ahead, please.
I was going to say, sometimes you get clients, like I'll get women clients, but what if the guy's a player? What if he cheats on me? Well, there is that risk out there, but what if you could get the coaching so that you could spot that ahead of time? A certain amount of risk comes with life. That's all there is. We're going to sit in the captain's chair. Risk is a part of the game.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now, apart from this important lesson of taking risk, did you make any mistakes as well?
Oh, I think the biggest mistake was not investing in and I did some business coaching classes, but I think the biggest mistake was not investing in the personal support I needed.
I see.
There's been things here and there, maybe a VA I hired in there, but the biggest mistake was not doing that. And I think the other big mistake was there was a part of me that had to learn to see my own value, to trust in my own value.
I see. All right. So go ahead, please.
So I think trusting in your value, being able to take a risk, and to know that it's okay to play the biggest game of your life.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any advice for first-time entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs who are just starting off and maybe struggling a little bit?
Yeah, I'd say believe in your value, and that doesn't mean, if you're starting off, I know there are a lot of young coaches who start off and they maybe don't have all the certifications, believe in the value you provide and get more value, get more training, but sometimes, it may just be you need more business coaching, but believe in your value. If you are called to do a certain work, then, I've always loved the one statement, that the universe doesn't call the prepared, it prepares the called. I forgot what his name is. Michael Beckwith said that. And believe in yourself. If you are a person of passion and purpose and this, then, you can build it. If that passion isn't there, then something's wrong.
I see.
Now that's a different animal.
That's great advice. I mean, it comes down to, again, the same theme, knowing yourself and looking at what are your strengths and weaknesses and addressing them appropriately, right?
And when you think of resources, we live in a cosmic the universe wants to back you. I have learned when you're playing a higher game with the universe says, hey, they're playing a game of consciousness. Let's go get them. Like when I wrote this book, everything has showed up as I need. I have more resources. I truly believe I live in a cosmic we that's got my back. I remember writing the manuscript. It took me a year to write the manuscript. And I looked up to the universe and I had paid $25,000 to be mentored by a New York Times bestselling writer, how to write a New York Times bestselling book. You're going to pay, I've learned that. And I remember looking up to the universe and saying, if you don't show me how to get a bigger reach and leverage and how to play a bigger game, we got a nice expensive PDF here. 6 days later, Hay House Radio calls and says, would you like to be on a show with 2.4 million? And now that's not an accident. And I have learned to trust that if I play the biggest game, the universe will find me. And because if you reach for the stars reach back. That's what I have found. So it's okay to reach for the stars because the stars want to reach back.
Nice.
It's in a mirroring universe. And if we put out really positive energy, it comes back. So stop reaching out to the universe with little alligator. I'm not sure they're going to support it. I'm not sure they're going to do this. Reach out fully. And what does the universe do? It reaches back fully as well. So the other is don't play any short games with alligator arms. Reach out and let the universe support you.
Cool. That's very well said. Thank you so much for these deep thoughts. And I'm sure they provide a lot of value, and it's going to change many people's lives, if they listen to this. So thanks a lot for sharing this.
Well, thank you. We're working on the same team, my friend.
Yeah. So now, before I let you go, can you tell the audience how they can reach out and get in touch with you, and what kind of services you can offer to them?
Sure. Everything is at my website, www.garysalyer.com, Salyer. The book is on Amazon, Safe to Love Again. There's a link on there. You can also sign up for Love Notes, a really cool setup. I give weekly inspirational and relationship notes. They're little short things. And you got short videos. And if you need to contact me about, what are these missing rights or what can I do to play a bigger, better game of love or success, then you just reach out. I have something called a love map session. It's an hour with me. And if you reach out, we can set up, there's a way to contact me, as in all websites these days. So just go to my website. The book's there, ways to contact me, a beautiful video series that you can sign up for free, 2 to 4 minutes, so you can get them while you're drinking coffee and get inspired. So
nice. Thank you so much. Thanks again for being with us and sharing all your knowledge and wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
And that's all for now. Until next time. And if you're an existing or an aspiring tech entrepreneur, then I invite you to check out my new online workshop, Bootstrapping Your Tech Startup Dreams. Go to bootstraptechstartup.com and sign up for free. I want to make sure that more successful and sound decisions are made every day in your tech projects. Let's start finding solutions to your problems. So go to bootstraptechstartup.com, and I look forward to helping you with your tech projects. If you want more engaging videos and insightful interviews with industry's thought leaders, then check out other videos we have picked for you. The link is right there. And if you want to be notified about our new content, please do consider subscribing to our channel.